high success rate in our data recovery department of recovering your data. What is the big problem? Even though we have a 95% success rate in data recovery, there are cases that we cannot get your data back. It's about 5%. But this 5% is people that cry, businesses that start from scratch. So we have seen the disaster in their faces and how this affects them. So we managed to recover mostly everything. We recover from servers, from Linux, from Windows, from CDs, from tape drives. We recovered almost everything. And most of the cases we brought smiles in our clients' faces. But we had a challenge in 2016. A client brought a drive and he said, guys, my files are not opening. Even though the files are there, I cannot open them. And we said, don't worry. You're in Tictac, the data recovery department, so don't worry. We are the masters of disaster. We will attempt to save you because we never say we will recover your data. Okay? We say that we will do whatever is possible, is technically possible, and we will bring your data back. So he came and we observed the drive and we saw that his files were still inside, but the extension has changed. So they had a different extension and we could not open these files. So we observed the files, we observed the file structure inside with hex editors and stuff like that. I don't want to sound like a magician, but it's a typical process for us. And we saw that the whole thing has been altered. The data didn't have a specific structure. So this was the first ransomware. Who had experienced a ransomware attack from a friend, from another company? Who knows what a ransomware is? Perfect. So we know the enemy. We managed to study the enemy, and what changed in 2016? Hackers were always hacking systems, okay? But what changed and increased cyber attacks? Now they have found a way to get paid. You know about, who knows about cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin and stuff like that? Who owns cryptocurrency? Who? Good. So guys, you know how easy it is to send crypto from one wallet to another. So these hackers had a wallet and they could receive funds and we would never find them. This was a perfect business model. I could hack your computer and then I could get paid and you will never find me. So we warned, in these cases, we couldn't find a solution. So we had about 5% success rate to recover some files, to recover some databases. We used our skills in data recovery and we managed to recover, for example, some JPG files, some MP3 files, some documents sometimes, and we had a good success rate in some databases. And MDF files, if you are technically aware, you will know that. So even though we managed to do some good things about our clients, it was a very small percentage. We managed to help with our data recovery lab in only 5% of the cases, 6% of the cases. So what happens to the rest? We've seen people crying. We've seen people losing their business. We've seen people having a business interruption that would cost, even though, especially in the maritime industry, it would cost thousands of dollars per day. And we've seen people that were not prepared for such an attack. So we went out to conferences and we said, guys, there is a new enemy. It's not, right now it's not about hardware. It's not about software. It's a new enemy. So we thought, what can we do to help these people that had ransomware? So we created the most specialized team around Europe in handling ransomware. So can we guarantee that we can recover your files from ransomware? No, we are not liars. What we can do if you are a victim of ransomware? We can help you decrease the downtime of the business, and we can help you decrease the costs during a ransomware attack. So we have a special negotiation team, we have special people that will find the hacker, remove him from infrastructure, and will make sure that you will never be attacked again. So our new cybersecurity department was in place in about 2017. And we hired special experts in order to understand how we can prevent the attack. So when we have handled about 2,000 incidents around Europe with ransomware. So we know how the guys act. We even have a profile, and we know which are the good hackers and which are the bad hackers. So this hacker has a 70% rate to if you pay him, you will get your money back. But this hacker has a 20% rate. Do you want to pay him? Okay, so we opened our minds and we say how we can help clients. They go to the police and the police says, don't pay these guys. Yes, but I have a business, Mr. Police Officer. I have a business, and right now I was not prepared for a ransomware attack. And I've lost everything. My infrastructure is encrypted, my backups are encrypted, even my Microsoft Office 365 is all encrypted and owned by the hacker. What do you suggest me to do? You say, do not pay. So we open our minds in the private sector and we give solutions. Okay, we say to the client, it's your responsibility if you want to pay, but let's prepare that. Let's know what family of ransomware is behind that. So in a brief, we help people recover from ransomware faster and with very big discounts. So we decrease the cost and the time of the ransomware attack and the business interruption. So this is what our skilled team does. And we became better because we have seen a lot of hackers inside the infrastructure. We have seen a hacker, for example, being inside the CCTV system and attacking our own infrastructure. We have installed antiviruses and EDRs, and we have seen the hacker from the camera uninstalling these antiviruses because he has a domain admin. So we use forensic tools in order to understand where is the hacker, what is he doing. So we are like, Ghostbusters. I don't know if you know the movie. We are just Ghostbusters. You can't see what we can see with our tools. So that's why we became more specialized, and these guys cannot sleep at night because they must find what they can do to protect your infrastructure with the ransomware they seen yesterday, with the tactics. For example, yesterday they went to an incident and they have seen new tactics from the hacker. So they need to implement a new system of protecting our own clients, because right now we are offering managed cybersecurity solutions. So these solutions are offered mainly using two huge products, and we love them. One is Acronis. Acronis can guarantee that even if you got a ransomware, your infrastructure will be back in about 10 to 15 minutes. And we don't care if your infrastructure is on fire. Everything will run from the cloud. You don't have to pay a data center all the time, but Acronis has your data and can launch it within 15 minutes. And what Komodo does, which is the other product that we have, is first of all that categorizes the files in 3 different categories. First, I know this file and it's bad. It's listed, we know it. Second, I know this file and it's good, so we will allow it. So there is a small category that says unknown files, and it's just 1% or 2% per day. But this 2% is thousands or millions of different files per day. So what Komodo does, and it's groundbreaking, Komodo says, if you are an unknown file, I will just run you in a sandbox. So I will give you access to the RAM, to the memory, I will give you access to the hard drive, I will give you access to the input and output devices, but all these things, all these entities will be virtual. So do whatever you want. You will never touch my registry, my own registry. So with Komodo, with one tool, you will have a specialized EDR with many awards. You will have a full remote monitoring and management tool, so you will know where your CPU is high, low, stuff like that. You will know where the hard drive fills with data, and you have to be proactive. You will must uninstall installations from your clients. You will must update the operating systems. So it's one tool that will give you superpowers, and we will show it to you. So today, we will see how Acronis works, because the first thing that we do when we take a managed customer is we protect his data, first of all. It's the first thing that we do. We protect the data off-site, and we protect it with award-winning software. With anti-ransomware protection, this is what we see in Acronis, and it was groundbreaking. The backup system is a ransomware-aware backup system, not just a backup system. So if you see something bad, it will revert it. And what we see next is Komodo, how Komodo helps us being protected with a deny-all policy. So, Stavros, you will tell us some things about Acronis?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Stavros Amiotis. I work with Tictac Recovery and Interworks.cloud, which is the Acronis distributor for the region. We have been successfully working for 1 year now with Tictac, and we have successfully dealt a lot of things. And I will tell you some things about Acronis. Acronis, to most of you, is known as a backup provider, a backup software. Acronis, the last 3 years, has evolved very much and has become one of the leading providers in cyber protection. So it's backup, it's data recovery, it's ransomware protection, antivirus, anti-malware, and remote management. So it covers all the infrastructure, even its physical, virtual, workstation, servers, even can protect Mac OS, Linux, and Android devices, and iOS devices, in order to give you a full coverage of your infrastructure. We are going to see some points of how it's easy to use it, implement it, and get protected for that. And also, afterwards, with the guys from Tictac, we are going to give you a lab, how we do the backup, how if you change that, and how very easily and very quickly can start the disaster recovery server from the data center of Acronis, not in your infrastructure. Of course, it can help you on that also if you can use it to have the disaster in your infrastructure, but in case that you have ransomware, your infrastructure may be fully infected and you need to isolate it, and the guys from the department of Tictac will be there to do their stuff and see how they can isolate the attack. Can we have a little bit of the console of Acronis? Give us 1 minute. And also, using Acronis, we first of all handling the major rule 321 that we are having. Okay, leave it there. We need to have backup, local backup. We need to have a remote backup, preferably to the cloud, which is a totally different location. Acronis has the ability to have 3 different locations. One here inside your production environment, on a second environment of yours, and in the cloud on the data centers of Acronis, which are certified, protected, and covering all the necessary regulations. Now, this is the first part of the console of Acronis, when through a single console can have, with one view, the status of the machines, what happened on the activities, if you have any warnings or errors. Also through Acronis and through Komodo, you can manage the patches of your softwares, not even Windows and Linux, but actual software. If Windows is updated, if Office is updated, if your browser is updated, even if 7-zip or WinZip is updated, because in many cases ransomware and attacks can come from the small things that you don't pay a lot of attention, and that might create a hole in your system. If we go a little bit up here, my friend Nikos gives you the software inventory feature that will do the inventory of all the software that's installed on the machines, and then through the vulnerabilities section, we will see which vulnerability for which machine, what kind of vulnerability it is, and an analysis through the CVE protocol that you will have the detail of the vulnerability. And on the patches section, we don't have patches to be installed, they have been done, but on the patches you would have the approval point to use it and update your system. For sure, some of you may use Windows Update, SUSE, or any other patching management system. You can have that or you can use that. It's choice is yours. But the most important for us, both teams, is that through the vulnerability assessment, we see where the holes are and we can take action on that proactively. Let's go on the devices. We don't have a device over here. Okay, here it is. Okay. So, click on LabDC, the first one. So, you see that its status is okay. That means that there is a successful backup already in place. Disaster recovery is enabled. That means that there is a standby virtual machine in the data center of Acronis ready to be powered on and start working from there. And that's part of the lab I'm going to see. Click on the protect on the over there, yes, to see a little bit of the scheduling, how it's easy to be done. Expand the backup. The second.
How about we do a new plan to see all the resources?
Oh yeah, okay, you can do that.
That would be more.
Creating a plan, yeah. So as Mike told you, it's backup and it's scanned proactively before we do the backup of the files. It's scanning the files, so if it finds something, even something unknown and suspicious, it will be blocked. If it doesn't find anything and completes the backup, afterwards, while the backups are stored, periodically the backups are scanned for any new attacks, viruses, ransomware that appear in the market. So your backup is always clear from malware, ransomware, and viruses. And that's a very critical and important thing. It's almost a unique feature that other backup vendors are now starting to implement scenarios like that. So you can have a backup of the entire machine or specific file or folders or disks. The entire machine is the most preferable scenario because we can have everything and we can restore or recover to any other place. We don't care. We are hardware independent, we are vendor independent because you can do backup of physical virtual desktop or laptop and you can restore it any place you want, to another hardware, to another virtual environment, or the same virtual environment, or completely different hardware. Also is application aware. That means that when you do your backup and you have SQL Server inside, it will know and it will give you the ability to restore just one database from that entire machine backup. So it's give you a great functionality and easy to use in case you want to have multiple scenarios. Where to back up? It's cloud storage, but you can add location, a physical disk that attached, USB, or a NAS drive, or even you can send it to another NAS in another location and different IP, so you can have everything. How long to keep? You can build your own backup policy, 1 month, 2 months, weekly, incremental, full, differential. You can play with that. And you can keep it up to 99 years. It's the maximum retention policy. And if you have a second location, the first location has its own backup policy. The second location can have a different one. So by doing one snapshot, one backup, you can have 2 retention or 3 retentions. So you can play with the space you need to keep your backups. All the backup are encrypted in flight and at rest. That means if somebody tried to sniff your network, the backup data cannot be read because it will be encrypted anyway. By using the encryption password, what we do, one more security feature, the only one who can do a restore of the data is the guy that knows the passphrase. So even through the console that you are administrator, you won't be able to restore unless you know the passphrase. And if you lose the passphrase, I'm terribly sorry, but you cannot restore anything. You cannot even start the disaster recovery because it's critical to have the encryption password. Otherwise, it's using the encryption password itself. He knows the password and the administrators can do backup and restores. But anyhow, backups are always encrypted. And we can, at the same time, enable the antivirus and malware protection, the URL filtering, because as a security solution also can block or allow different URLs from the machine. And it's doing that with one agent installed. This one agent has a lot of functions. As you can see, even cryptocurrency, mining process detection, antivirus, anti-malware, any unusual traffic between network drives also will be protected. And it will notify you quarantine, and the great feature is if something is changed from a ransomware or any other unknown process, he will revert from cache to the original file. So while being attacked, you are not going to lose any data. Revert using cache. And we've got some other features such as the patch management we saw, the vulnerability attachment. The data protection map is a feature that you can specify specific directories with the continuous data protection, which was up in the backup, continuous data protection CDP, or the data protection map. You specify specific folders or specific file types, and each time one of them is changing, it will initiate an incremental backup, so you will be protected up to the minute. The moment that something changes, it's doing the backup. So despite the fact that your backup process may run every 1 hour or every night, it's your setting of RTOs and RPOs, how much frequently you want the backups to be happening. The CDP for this specific data will be continuously. With the device control feature, we can have protection about locking the USB, locking the clipboards, not having the drive maps to be able to copy files, stuff like that. So you also have a complete device controlling function. Data loss prevention is a new feature that's coming up. We are on the early adopters, that's a EAP program. If somebody from you knows the device lock family of products, device lock is part of Acronis now. It's fully implemented inside, and now through the console you can do all the device lock functions through Acronis platform, and you are going to have a DLP solution through the same console. And it's great features coming up, and everyone that you are registered on the event, you are going to get information about this product coming up soon, by the end of the month. And the disaster recovery function that we demonstrated on the internal virtualization platform of Acronis, and it's creating the virtual machine for the first time with the specifics, and it's continuously restoring the data of that server, and it's always one virtual machine standing by ready to start. Click there.
Something you want to go to the disaster recovery category?
Category, yes, over there.
Right.
Just to display the servers over there. And then my friend Yanis will come and do the demo. So, you see, we have two machines on the disaster recovery that are standing by. We can specify the CPU and the RAM that we are going to use in case we start this machine. So we can downgrade it to use a few CPUs and a few RAM just to do a test. Or we can have what we need in order to be full production in case we have lost our main site. We can change the IP address, we can block the internet access or use it, having a public IP in order to do direct RDP on that machine. And even we have a special firewall by Acronis, so we can even set our own firewall rules for the disaster recovery system in order to be fully protected and allow only the communications we want to allow. If you click on the failover button just to see that, okay, over there, it's enough. So what we have here, I will going to do a test just to test our disaster recovery procedure according to our disaster recovery policy inside the company, or it's actually a production failover because we had an attack, our servers are on fire, something else is going wrong, the building is down, we can start production and continue. On the test failover, we are isolated in every lab, we can do our test without affecting our production environment, and our backups are continuing to work. What we see here, which is very critical and very good here, no malware found. Our backup files, our disaster recovery server is scanned and it's clear. Of course, there is a small possibility, as Mike said, that something in there is affected, but by having the team behind, the moment that this will power up, we know what to check if we had an attack previously on the system to go and block if something has passed the different security policies. So we can start either at this morning, the latest backup, and start the virtual machine on that, don't start it. Or we can, you started, okay.
I inserted on the part, right?
Yeah, okay, no problem. We can either start it and use it, or if we knew that this specific time is not good because it's already having the attack, we can go 1 hour, 2 hours, depending on policy back, and use that scenario. And of course, there is the simple possibility that somebody says, okay, I will start these 2 servers in disaster recovery, but the file server, which is not critical, I can wait a few hours. We can start at the same time the restore process, the normal restore process, to another location, to another server, so we can have that system up and running in a few hours. But if we need the quick solution, this is the quick solution. I'm finishing my presentation over here for the general information about Acronis. If you've got any questions, if you want to ask me something now about Acronis, or later, when we finish the overall presentation, I will be here happily to answer any questions or take any discussion with you if you want to discuss anything. John? Nikos will continue. Okay. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Charles, for the presentation. I believe you have covered most of the basic installation and setup of the protection plans. Acronis, we all knew from the backup solutions that provided the cloning solutions that provided for a long time, since I was in high school, I remember that. They have included a lot more features after that. At this moment, it's a full cybersecurity platform. It has come a long way from the single backup solution. Stavros has showed us a lot of the features about the backups and the patching and the whole security stack that Acronis provides, and more is on the disaster recovery server on the test mode, of course, not in production, and I will comment on that later, how it is that different. This device we see, you see in the, just give me a second. All right, there we go. This is the actual device, the live device in our lab that we have taken. We have taken the morning backup. As you can see, we have some demo files on the desktop, and we will see that the files that are on the backup server, they should be exactly the same. So let's see that. Alright, there we go. So you can see the desktop has the exact files. But let's just give this another second to load. This server you are seeing right now is the disaster recovery server in the Acronis cloud. It's not the live one, just to be clear about that. So, if an emergency struck our business, or you have an actual disaster recovery, in just 2 minutes we would run the disaster recovery server, it would load the latest backup, and we would we could continue work from there on. So, what I'm going to show you now is how fast, after I change some data and make a quick backup, we're going to see this data on the disaster recovery server. So, what I'm going to do is make a new text file with the current time. I see it says 11:28, alright? And I'm going to run a quick backup, which it will be an incremental backup, not a full one. The default setting of the Acronis backup plan is to make an initial full backup, and then the later backups are always incremental and in single file. So in the end, the end result will be a single file, which inside of it will have the incremental restore points that we're going to use. So I'm running a manual backup right now. Of course, this is an option. If we are setting our backups, we can make our scheduling exactly the way we want it, daily, hourly backups, etc. Or we can make a full backup a day and an application backup for SQL server.